back again. I wanted to do a quick video, another one on my children. How do I feel about corporal punishment? I am against corporal punishment. I do think in certain circumstances there are certain children that it might work for, so I don't judge anybody that uses that, but for me and mine, it doesn't work for us. I know that it was certainly used on my brother and I. My dad cannot understand for the life of him why we don't incorporate that technique. He does see it as a weakness if we don't spank our kids. We tried that. We have 3. We did that with the first one and a little bit with the second. And what I found is it led to more violence. It led to more acting out. It led to more anger. It led to more insecurity, unpredictability, chaos. It did not lead to the response that we wanted from our children and from us. I think that if we're trying or we're intentional about getting across discipline and consistency, and they know what's going to happen every time, and they know what kind of consequences they have if they make a bad decision, and what kind of rewards they have for making a good decision. And so we get to be consistent with that. That is the key to me. It's not about spanking them and putting the fear in them that this is going to happen. I know for me, spanking did work, yes and no. The yes being, yeah, I stopped doing some of the stuff that, I was being spanked for, but what happened then is I became anxious, I was not as settled in my own skin. I became fearful about things in particular, and I'm hypersensitive, so it wasn't going to work for me anyway, and I don't think it works for my kids. One of them is pretty hypersensitive too, and that's the one that I think has more issues with it. So I kind of give an example of a cop, right? So if you're speeding and the cop pulls you over, he can be as calm as can be. He can say very little words. He doesn't have to be angry and yelling in your face, and certainly not put his hands on you, but you can be terrified of the cop. I'm terrified, just aside from the whole, racial profiling and cops coming after some races more than others. Just more than that, I'm afraid if I'm stopped for speeding or something, I know I'm going to get a speeding ticket. I might get my license taken away. I have to pay a fine. So those ramifications of having to pay money, or getting points on my license or on my insurance is all going to affect me. And I know just by virtue of the fact that he has the power, or she, the cop has the power to do that, that's going to affect me speeding in the future. He doesn't have to be yelling or in my face or angry. He just has to be, it has to be consistent, me knowing what's going to happen. It's the same with parenting. I think that staying calm and cool and collected, and most importantly, consistent about what's going to happen if they do something. That is the biggest mistake that I'd say I've made as a parent, and I think other parents make, is that you can come up with so many reasons why you say you're going to implement a consequence for a particular action, and you don't implement the consequence. That child gets a quick lesson that it's not going to happen every time, and they will exploit it, and they will manipulate, and they will try to split the parents. I mean, that's just nature of who we are as people, to get what we want. There's nothing bad about the child. It's the parents who aren't doing what they say they're going to do. I don't blame the child for taking advantage of the opportunity to get away with things if the parents aren't going to be consistent about what they say. So you can say, I'm just tired. Oh, they're having a fit. I'm just going to give in. It's just too much. I've done that. I admit that I've done that. Is it the worst thing I could have done? Probably. About as bad as the spanking. Neither one gets what I want. The hardest decision is going to be, okay, let me stop what I'm doing and let them know one time, if you do this, you can make a choice, but this is what's going to happen if you do this. And be consistent every single time. That's what we're doing now as parents. I've always known this, but again, I can come up with excuses for mental and emotional laziness, for fatigue, or just plain, it's all coming down to fatigue and laziness and and exhaustion as to why I didn't stay consistent, and my husband as well. Sometimes he was off at school and work, and I was parenting alone, and sometimes we weren't on the same page. So if my husband and I are not on the same page about what kind of consequence is going to come, that's also a problem. If my husband says, oh, I'm taking away your video games for a week, and he hasn't consulted me, and I think, oh, well, 3 days would have been sufficient based on that, we need to discuss before we do that, you know, so that we're on the same page. I'm not going to say, wait till I tell your father, he's going to come up with the consequences. No, we need to do that together. My kids need to know that we are both coming up with the rules. They're not going to be able to split us. They're not going to be able to manipulate us. But they're not also, that they don't need to be afraid of getting a spanking, because again, I don't feel that that has worked. It may work immediately in the short term, but it also leads to more internal anger and insecurity on the part of my kids. And that's the last thing I want. I want them to have peace and confidence more than all of the things. I want them to feel that. And that's going to come with us being disciplined with them and with ourselves. Okay, stay tuned for the next video. I hope you like this one. Life is now.